I'm going to hit record. And today we are joined by Hannah Davila. She is from the Outlands, and she is going to do glass beads of Birka and Ribe, I believe is how you pronounce it, but I'm terrible. So without further ado, I will hand it over. This class is being recorded for purposes of YouTube, so if you do not want to have your face on YouTube, feel free to deselect your video so that way you're not on camera. With that said, I will turn over to you, Hannah.
Good morning. It's morning still here in the Outlands, at least for another little bit. It's lovely to meet you all virtually. Feel free to send questions. You can shout them out if you want. I usually talk at about 200 words a minute with gusts up to 350. So if I blow past you, flag me down and let me know. Most of what we're doing today is not actually going over beads that exist, the extant finds and what we have and what we found. What we're going to talk about is taking something that we can only get from a picture, because I have not gone out and purchased any finds or looted museums or in other ways played, the British Empire and found all these wonderful things where I can take something I'm holding in my hand and look at it. Instead, we're going to take pictures and we're going to go through the process of what it takes to reproduce what we see. I talk a lot with my hands. That does eventually stop, particularly when I turn on the fire. There will be a feed that is just my torch. So we're going to take a look at that here when we get there. The torch feed is purple, as you can see. It's being sent. It's on a camera mounted on a tripod over my shoulder, and it is through a filter so that you can see what's going on in the torch. So we're going to make a plan. We're going to try to enact our plan. And some of what we're doing is making guesses. So we're going to test out what we guessed was the right answer. So I've got a little notepad next to me and a pencil, so I can just kind of jot down what I think I want to make for my plan. So I'm going to start with, and I really seriously chime in, say what you think this is or what you see. You may see different things than I do, and I really do appreciate that that interaction. The way we usually do this class at events is I bring in pictures, just printed right off the internet, hot and fresh for you. Yes, deeply researched. So I print off pictures, we circle the one that we're working on, and we sit there and talk shop. We talk what shape we start with, what pieces we have to pre-make in order to produce what we see. So we're going to start with this top picture here. It's the one with all the beads. I also have a producer on hand here who's going to give me a hand with all of this. And this picture is our starting point. And we're going to take a look at this bead. The largest of the beads, it is probably black. It appears black. It could be navy blue. It could be a very dark blue.
Excuse me, Hannah?
Yes.
Good morning. Could you move the camera just down to like more where your hands are?
Sure. The camera on my face?
Yeah. Still, you have plenty of headroom. We just couldn't see your hand.
Okay. There is a camera on my torch. Do you see my hand in the other feed?
I can see your thumb, and that's it.
Okay. There is a camera on the torch, and we're going to swap to that feed when we get to the torch. So we're going to start, and I am showing this over my shoulder to the camera. Hopefully, can we pop that feed up? Should be primary here. Can anybody see this feed with my phone and the torch?
Yes.
That's what I'm looking for. We're going to start with this bead here. This one right in the center. Can we see which one we're talking about?
No.
It's the one that looks like it has yellow and black stripes. All right, let me share screen. Rob, are you sharing screen?
I should be.
Okay, all I see on your feed
I can see is like your right hand and your left hand, and the beads are out of frame.
I'm seeing the shared screen
as well when I move my I'm on a tablet. When I move my focus over to the first screen.
Good. My goal is shared screen, but I'll try to show it on all 3 cameras. On the shared screen, would you use your cursor to point out which one we're doing? We are doing the one that is black with stripes across it, that one. The cursor's on it now. So that's the bead we're going to focus on right now. I mean, we can look at other ones, but this is straight off the museum's website. And I'm going to try to do it also here on my phone. I'm not sure how well this will work with the camera and the glare. Ooh, that's interesting. So I'm going for this bead right here.
Han, I'm sorry. I could see, we can see the picture in the little, inset window, but when it's on you, I can't really see much below your elbows.
That's okay.
Okay.
Because I have a separate camera on the torch, in focus, and with a filter.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So let's talk about what this bead requires. Oh, I've got an echo. So to me, this bead is black. We're going to start with a basic black cylindrical shaped bead. And what I see is I see layered dots. I see a white dot put in, I'm going to say 3 places along the top and then 3 places along the bottom. I'm going to assume that it's the same, kind of at the shoulders of the bead. And then that seems to have been melted in. Then the next one looks like a yellow dot, and then it looks like a black dot on top of, on top of that. Across the center, it looks like I have a twisted cane laid down of a black and yellow cane. And then by the shape of the dots, they kind of get flat along that twisted cane. So my guess is that the twisted cane went down first, and then the dots went down after the twisted cane. If anybody else has any other input as to how this might have been shaped,
Only the second.
we can certainly take a look at that. We can, because everybody's guesses are pretty much as good as mine. So my steps are, I'm going to need to make this twisted cane, and I'm just going to write these down as I go. And that is a black and yellow. And then I'm going to need to make sure that I have stringers, smaller, although they don't look like they were done with really tiny rods. They look like they were done with really giant rods. So maybe the other possibility is that these were layers of rod put together. So we have a black layer with a red layer around it and a white layer around that. And then it's cut off and those pieces are inset. But we're going to try it with the dot method. I'm not sure which is correct, so we're just going to give it a go and hope that I'm right. I'm okay being wrong. I'm wrong a lot. I have teenagers. They'll tell you I'm wrong a lot. So I want to have available to me. Say again.
For what it's worth, the yellow what you were calling yellow on the dots looks a little more red to me, but it's
I
kind
agree.
of
Let's call that white, red, and black. All right, we'll pull yellow off of this. We're going to need white, red, and black. Thank you. I am looking through, I'm wearing my safety glasses. So I'm looking at a picture on my, right underneath my camera on my laptop. And of course, with the filtered glass lenses, I get different colors. I'm also dealing with some new, there we go, that'll help. I'm also dealing with some new contacts. And so I'm having some trouble reading at certain distances because this is, because my reader prescription went up too. So that's a fantastic zoom in on that. Thank you. All right. So based on that, I think step 1 is we're going to want that twisted cane. Step 2, we're going to want to make sure that we have our tools ready. So we're going to need to have a small thing of red, a small thing of white, and probably the regular stick of black, because it looks like there's a lot more black in there. And then my next step would be to make the base bead, which we're going to assume is black from this picture. We've looked at the most common color we see because of copper in soil is a dark navy blue. We see this a lot. And as it fades, as it loses its luster, they tend to look black. So we're going to make this one black. I'm not sure how correct that is, because obviously we're not going to get to compare it. So we're going to do our base bead. We're going to shape it as a cylinder. We're going to add the twist, and then we're going to add our dots, our layered dots. We'll write it out that way. All right, so I've written out my steps. Hopefully, I'm going to get my tools together here. I have a black and yellow twisted cane that I made earlier, but I'd be happy to make one here because this one appears really skinny. In my view, this one's pretty skinny. Then I have my small red. I've got I had a small black. Oh, apparently I did not keep it. Oh, this is fantastic. Is this black? Are you black? Maybe that's black. Okay, I've got a small red, a small black, and a small white ready to go. And as I said, base bead in black. So I'll keep these right here on my workstation and make them so that they're easy to grab. And I want to get that black and yellow formed first. So I'm going to take a small yellow. And I think based on this, the black and yellow stripes seem about equal. So I'm going to choose a rod that is about the same thickness as my black, as the black rod. So the black and yellow rods. My goal is to take about the first couple of inches, pin them together, kind of melt them together, get them nice and soft, and then twist them as I pull them. So we'll go ahead and do that. If you want to switch over to the torch screen, and I'll get my torch going. I'm sorry I didn't dress up for class. I figured all you'd be seeing of me is my apron and my safety glasses anyway. So hopefully you're on the torch feed now, and I'll just keep chatting, but you can of course throw questions my way. I'm just going to give these a quick warm up. I'm going to reset this. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to grab a tool here. Thank you. And I'm just going to cut off a chunk of this here, yellow. Do I have a black rod? Because this rod is definitely brown. Thank you. Yellow. And we'll get this attached here. I do hope you can see the torch feed. It's primary. Do you have a primary torch feed? Is that what you're seeing? You can't control the feed. But it's supposed to be. All right, with any luck, y'all are seeing the torch.
And I had to go to the gallery view to see the torch.
Okay, can you click that single feed? Will that help bring that torch up bigger? And
I cannot, but I'm on a iPad.
If you're having trouble,
you cut up.
if you're having trouble seeing the torch as your main feed, I think you can go, it should be up in the upper right if you're on a computer at least, and change to speaker view. And then if you find the torch camera on the upper ribbon and you scroll over it with your mouse, there should be a 3-dot menu. If you click that, you can pin it, and that should make it the primary camera that you look at.
Perfect. That's exactly what I'm hoping you all can do. We had originally tried to set this up so that the person behind me, his name is Anton in the SCA, and that he would be cutting between feeds as needed. But at the moment, that doesn't seem to be happening. All right, so I'm just moving my 2 pieces of glass over to a single, and I'm using a couple of punties. These are borosilicate punties, which have a different coefficient of expansion and therefore don't stick permanently, but they will stick for a little while I get these things smushed together. All right. With any luck, now I can maybe do it with less wobbliness. There we go. I do have more deaf skill than this. I am a little on the nervous side. It was nice hearing Kathleen's voice because I hear it every week. We do online Spark and Snark where we all just, several of us sit at our torches and work, and mostly we just chat with each other. There we go. So these are getting really smushy at this point. I just want to make sure they're heated all the way through and connected very nicely so there's no air between them. I'm just going to start twisting those together. Oh, that's definitely not what I wanted to happen. Okay, that is going to be a pain in my butt. We'll see if we can use it make use of it later, but right now I don't have much control over that glass. So we're just going to drop some of that in the water. And here's our black and yellow twisted cane. I don't much like how it came out, so I'm rethinking that maybe there's a better way. So this time I'm going to take, we'll redo that twisty and then we'll redo that bead because I do want to get to other beads today. I'm going to try a slightly different method. I'm going to try to use equal amounts of white and black and yellow. And this time I'm going to place some black between the yellows, between the yellow stripes. In hopes that I get this nice and even. In period, it's more likely that they would have taken pieces cut off like I did initially. Seriously, I don't like burn myself normally in class. Let's see if I can get that to do a little better of a twist. And they would have just kept working and pushed them all together and worked them with tongs. It's unlikely they pulled like this. So all mushy mushy nice. Thank you. Please mushy mushy up nice. Let's give that twist another go. Please hold on to the tool. All right, here we go. That's coming out a lot better, I think. Perhaps. We'll come back to those. All right, our next step, we said, was to have our stringers ready, and we've got those ready already. I'm using commercial stringers because they were available to me and they were quick for class, as opposed to pulling my own, which is also more likely infuriating. Our base bead, we're going to start with a cylinder. Ooh. And I'm going to make this bead on the medium to large side, seriously. Kathleen will tell you I am not nearly as spastic. I'm usually much more elegant in my work. Today is not that day, it appears.
Yes, I will vouch for you.
Standard up.
I'm going to make this bead kind of on the large side. We're going to add quite a little bit to it. So I don't want to get it too thick. So I'm making it about 5 wraps long. And we'll go about 3 wraps large. So we'll give this another wrap here in just a second, as soon as I melt all this in. Just trying to prevent adding air bubbles. Which one can do with patience. And if this doesn't turn out, it's going to be okay because it's just for the demonstration purposes. It's not like I'm entering this in competition. I'll keep telling myself that.
Had some technical difficulties getting in. I had to be reassigned to a different room.
Why?
Because they have more than one room going.
Oh.
And then I couldn't get them to move me. So what I did was I logged out and logged back in to Zoom, and it let me do it.
At Zoom, there should be a way to drop back out of a room there.
Are you able to see the torch feed? Okay. That's the primary one right now. So we're making the torch. We're trying to make the bead we saw, the bead we discussed. Okay. So I think that I'm just going to keep this bead warm while I talk. I think that this stringer looks a lot less like what I saw online on the picture. This one I think looks a lot more like it, with the center core of black, and then we put black and yellow around to make a more uniform thing. What are you whispering at me? Down a little. Okay. Is that better? Okay. So I think this one's a little bit more like what we saw in the picture, kind of more uniform stripes. Where this one, we definitely have larger space between the black and the white. So if I were doing this again, I'd say we probably want to do like I did here with black and yellow stripes around the center core of black. So I'm going to go ahead and add this now. That was what we worked out in our pre-plan. And this really applies to any, ooh, that's really crappy application. You can all watch me do really bad job on this. If you'd like to see a good job done on this, there are other YouTube videos. I recommend them. All right, I'm getting up close near that edge, so I'm going to go ahead and cut off my twisty, fling it randomly on my desk because that's definitely what I had planned. And let's see if we can't just touch that into place with the initial end. See if I can get those two to melt together. Just a little bit of poking and prodding. All right. In my opinion, this was melted in first. And the reason I think it was melted in first was because those dots have a flat side where they appear to be flat. So they pushed up to this twisted piece. This bead's going to get a lot more heat, so now that this thing is well affixed. So the first color we saw, we said was white. I'm bringing it up on my phone just in case I didn't have enough devices going at the same time. So we're going to take that white and we're going to add 3 nice big fat dots across the top. And I honestly, looking at them, I think they're bigger than those little stringers. So we're going to do them in a white full rod here. We're going to give it 1 up here on the shoulder, go approximately 1/3 of the way around, 2. And we estimated that there were 3 of them. Of course, we can't see the back side of that bead from a picture. And they appear to be, we're going to do 3 on the other side, on the other shoulder. Then if this is the north, that's the south. And they appear to be offset. I will move my hand in a moment. So you can see that they're kind of up here on the shoulders. And as these melt in, they're going to change the shape of our bead. I don't need to melt them in fully, but white will swallow other colors. So it's a little bit better if I put my white down nice and thick like that, where it is already spread out as far as I want it, or close to, before adding the next color, just trying to limit how much it'll suck up, how much it'll fold over the other color. Our next one is red, and we're going to put it right on top of our white dots. I'm just giving that white a little bit of a chance to come back to color and let it firm up. Usually when we do this in class, at events, or in a group setting, everyone's got their torch. So we postulate a bunch of these, we lay out a bunch of plans, and discuss the plans and lay out, you're going to try making your twisty this way, and I'm going to try making my twisty that way. And then we all go to our torches, we produce what we said, and then while we discuss what we felt worked and didn't work, or what was more or less the beads cool a little bit, and then we pull them out and we take a look at them and we say, okay, this I liked because it worked like this. This I think they must have, instead of put layered dots, we think they instead put a piece of what we call marini today, where you chopped up and you put a chunk of rod in it. Now I'm going to repeat one more go round on top of the red with black, and you can see we're getting closer to the shape that we see on the picture. But it's not really exactly the same shape. So maybe there were 4 dots instead of 3. I don't know. We'll play with it and see what we get. Again, in class, at a class at an event where we're all working on torches, we would have the time to repeat the bead. Today, of course, we don't have that time. So let's get this nice and melty and see if we've got our shape. I might want to add another black dot on top of this black dot, just so that I can get a little bit more push, a little bit more glass pushing, opening. So I come from a science background. My background is in biology. So to me, I find that what we're doing when we're reproducing here is we're doing a lot of scientific method. We're going to look at it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to come up with a hypothesis. We're going to write out a process, and then we're going to enact it. And then we're going to review what we did to see if we've got the results we anticipated. In this case, I think we're going to learn a lot from this bead. meaning I don't think it's a perfect reproduction. All right, I'm going to let that cool for just a couple more seconds. And then I'm going to go ahead and set it in a pot to cool off, and we'll change beads. I will turn this off. Okay. I did prep one of these beads ahead of time, or a couple of these beads ahead of time, so that we could take a look at a finished result and see if we got what we were looking for. I'm going to skip over that one, and we're going to go to the, let's go to this blue with red stripes. I'll share screen here in just a second. Are we there? Cylinders with red stripes, red and white stripes. Okay, thank you. Hopefully we've got a shared screen. Almost. Coffee break. It's coming up. So these next pictures, there we go. Hopefully you're seeing that shared screen. I believe these are from Ribe. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly. And what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing that what looks like black in certain areas, in other areas, I can kind of see through the bead, and I do see that it's a dark blue, transparent, translucent for everybody else. And what looks like little stripes of bacon going across it, red and white stripes that appear, it doesn't appear that I have a layer. If I'm looking at the round donut shaped bead, second one in from the right, if I'm looking at that one looks like there's white that was laid down and then red that was laid down on top of it. Where the next one over looks like that red and white is not uniformly layered. It doesn't look like I had white go down, so that I have white on both top and bottom, and then red through the center. I look like I've got white, red, white, red. So my guess is that this is just a different pulled cane. If you read the Bead Maker from Ribe book, I highly recommend it. Thomas Grissom called these Denmark beads, or excuse me, Mexico beads. And at the time that these beads were found, Denmark had just beat Mexico in the World Cup. And the flag of Denmark is red and white. So these are the reminder that we kicked Mexico's butt. So modern history being added into a medieval history bead, or pre-medieval history bead. So for this bead, we're going to look at size-wise. I think this is definitely not as wide as our first one. So I'm going to probably only go 3 wraps wide. It looks like we've got most of the shape here. So we're going to get a nice standard kind of average cylindrical bead. It does look like it was shaped after these colors have been put on, and they don't seem, the first bead on the left seems to have a nice uniform shape, which I'm drawing in midair, where it seems to have been put on in a scallop, and then the other side is put in on a scallop, and somewheres they cross over. The other beads less organized, but we'll go ahead and try it with the scallop method. So again, I want to break down what tools I'm going to need first. So I'm going to grab my little pad here. The tools that I think I'm going to need for this are, I'm going to need a flat surface, a marver. In this case, I'll be using a marver paddle. I'm going to definitely need to have prepared my materials. So I'm going to need a red and white layered cane. And then we can start building the bead. So my base bead is a cylinder, and it's kind of a short, stubby cylinder. And then I can add the striped cane in scalloped. And I can draw myself out a little picture to help if you're looking at the torch feed. Nope, torch feed's probably not very helpful, but I drew myself a happy little picture of the style I want to draw this bead out in. And let's pull our tools together. I have a striped red and white cane that I need to produce. So here is my red and white, and they are of approximately the same size. I think what I'm going to want to do that I kind of learned with the last one is I pulled, just FYI, I pulled one of these already in preparation for this, and they ended up really skinny. I'm not sure how much of this you can see, but I'll try to hold it up here. So these are my regular size rods, and these ones ended up like smaller than a millimeter. I don't love them. They're kind of hard to work with. So I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take a white core. I don't know, I think there's more red than white. So I'm going to take a red core, and I'm going to add red and white stripes around the core so that I kind of have layers going down. And then when I pull it, I should get red and I should get bacon, but I'm looking for a little thicker than what I produced before. I've got my navy rod for my base bead ready to go, and I have my marver tool. So let's go ahead and produce this one. We're going to try to make what we see. And then I'll pull out the one that I had made ahead of class, and we can take a look at it and review it. See what I had and see if I was successful and what changes I would make. So I'm already making a change from the last time that I did this bead, and that's that I don't need a marver. I don't actually need me on a mandrel right now because we're building cane first. If I follow my instructions, I will actually do that. Yes.
Can you please angle the camera down just a little bit? We can't see what you're doing.
Please switch over to the torch feed. I have a separate feed running with the torch through a filter.
Got it. Sorry about that.
That's okay. That's what we started with. We did a little of this when we started. It's a little hard to. You all are my guinea pigs. I'm borrowing you all this afternoon to try to figure out exactly how this class works with a feed, because we get together every week and we play on Torch and chat, and that's just talking at random. I don't know how much we actually look at each other's work, where class feed is a little bit harder to do. So thank you for helping me learn, because I'm definitely going to make a point to try to say, please switch over to the Torch feed now. And that will help us all make that transition, I hope. So I pre-matched this.
Or something
please repeat.
Isn't there like a sticky or a little note that you could permanently put up?
Maybe. That says, please switch over to the Torch feed?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a note going up in chat now. As I said, my sweetheart is behind me, and he is running the Torch feed and switching us over to shared camera periodically.
There should also be a way to turn off all the people that don't have their cameras on, and then you only see yours and the Torch feed, and that'd be easier for people to figure out.
Just a
But I don't,
notation for everybody, this class is being recorded, and it is being recorded by our admins. So we do have the torch feed going the entire time. So you will be able to see that on YouTube following the presentation.
Awesome.
Oh, good. I mean, I wonder, I don't know if I want to watch it though.
Oh no,
Do
look
you
what
watch?
she's doing.
It's like listening to yourself on a recording. Does my voice really sound like that? I mean, I'm sure I could learn a lot from it, so it's probably a good idea. And again, I'm attaching my my cane to some punties here, just to help me get a hold of it and pull it. This is my favorite way to do it, but your methods are probably just as valid. If you prefer the grabbing and pulling method with a tool, if you prefer to use the original, the same soft glass rods, if you prefer to use a Maria and a prepared glass rod for attaching and pulling, all of your methods are produced pretty close to the same stuff. It's really what is best for your hands. And I happen to like these nice thick rods because they feel good in my hands. I have a lot of control over them. And as I said, I'm just trying to get all the uniformity here without twisting. Trying to get some heat in there. As much glass involved in this pull as I can, because I'm going to need quite a little bit of this stringer. All right, I think I've got as much heated as I can, and I'm going to pull it gently across. Just give it a little bit of time to cool because I don't want it too thin. Little puff of air there in the center cools that, and it won't stretch too much thinner than what I've got there. And totally happened what I happened before, and that's super frustrating to me. Well, that's what we're going to get today. It'll be interesting. As I said, I've got a couple extra rods pre-made from prepping this bead ahead of time. And with any luck, they'll look nice and be useful. We'll give that a minute to cool off and start preparing our base bead. I've got my layered cane ready. That's what that was just pulling. And as I said, it's cooling. It should be about able to touch in just about 30 seconds here. So we'll grab our base, we'll put our base bead together. And using that picture to work off of, which I have over on my right on my phone. And then I show up to class and I had forgotten to print them out. And so I run around showing everybody, here's a picture on my phone. Here, I'm going to share it with you. What's your email? We do actually manage to get these classes together. Just sometimes I am less elegant than your average YouTube star. But I don't shut up. If you would like to simply watch the glass melt, which is awesome and never stops being cool, you are welcome to do so. I don't know why I just had a reminder go off. You're welcome to mute me. All right. And I'm just filling in one area that didn't get a lot of glass. It should be about as big as I want my bead to be. It's about 3 wraps wide and about 3 wraps thick, 3 wraps long, 3 wraps tall, and about 3 wraps thick. And that's just based on what I was seeing. The beads are a little bit thicker than they are tall. Now that I've got it almost completely melted in, I'm going to go ahead and shape it following our little plan that we laid out. And we're going to probably, looking at the way that that bead, the cane is laid down, I do think that that was marvered, flattened again after the cane was put on. So I think we start with this base shape, and I think we're going to push it back into this base shape. So here's the cane that I made before. And I think that's a pretty nice uniform. It is red in the center with red and white stripes around the outside. They're a little thicker in spots, but I think we also saw that in the bead. And I'm going to try to lay this down in that scallop pattern that I saw. Securing it on one side, go up and down. And just working beside the torch to get it just a little bit melty, but not super melty as I work. And here we go on the other shoulder to get another set of those stripes. And this time, instead of cutting it off, I just pulled it off because again, I'm going to smash this all in. I'm going to use my paddle to flatten it all. And although I can leave these bumpy like this, that's not what I think I saw in the picture. As I said, this is a scientific experiment, and we're willing to be wrong because that's how we change our minds about what we see. Is we experiment, try, make mistakes, and try to fix them. Okay. I think I've got pretty well the shape that I saw. I might give that another run through just to take the chill marks off. When you cool with a tool like this, it can leave little marks behind as the glass cools. And we'll let that cool just a little bit. What's my time? Hello, phone, wake up, tell me. Okay, good. I've got about 10 minutes left. So what I want to do now is I want to go take a look at, we've made 2 of these beads. And so I will put these beads up in class notes somewhere. I've been told that that's available to me. And I want to take a look at what I did before. And we'll go back to that first bead. So I'm pulling up the first bead again, and we'll do a screen share here on the torch feed to take a look at what we were trying to reproduce. For those of you who, since I haven't got it up just yet, this bead here with the black and white string through it. Do we have it yet? No, that's fine. And I'm going to pull that first bead and see what it looks like. These probably have not cooled nearly enough to be out, but I'm okay if I lose these beads. So my result here, and I'll just keep doing these side by side if that's okay, as long as it's visible. Sure. Okay, so we're back to that shared screen to take a look at that first bead briefly. And I'm going to pull the filter off so I can see well here. There we go. And if you can come back to the torch, please. So I don't think we quite nailed it here. I definitely do not see the black and yellow. I barely see the black and yellow here. Down the center of the bead. It is very much not nearly as regimented, not nearly as uniform as I saw, and the shape of it swerves back and forth. Sorry. The shape of it goes around this dot, under that dot, over this dot, under that dot. So I think we have a problem with order. I think what we needed to do was get our dots together, layer them, and then put the twisted cane on, and then melt everything at the same time. So either that or the dots were done first, mostly melted in, and then the cane was laid down. So I don't think I successfully reproduced this bead. I definitely think I got the right size rod when we were using the larger rods to create our dots. I think those dots look a lot like what we see on our picture. They seem to be placed right. They seem to be on the shoulders of the bead. But I again, as we were putting it together, it might be 4 around each pole, rather than 3 around each pole. And as I said, that stripe we made, oh goodness, my phone's making noise. Thank you, we'll deal with that in a minute. And that center twisted cane just needed to be straighter. It got pushed by the glass, so I might want to rethink my order on that. As far as our other bead came out, this is the first one I did. I did this one in preparation for the class. And that bead, which I'll put here on the torch, I think looks a lot like the ones we were seeing, but I don't think it has as many layers. I think that little cane that we made, the bacon look, the red and white, or the Mexico cane, I only did 1 layer of red and 1 layer of white. So I don't think this came out with nearly as many layers, but I think I've got the shape right, and I think I've got the size right. And then the one that we produced today, I think looks a lot more like it, where I've got multiple layers of that red and white. I think I've got more red than white, just like we saw in that picture. I'm okay with the scallop shape. The overall shape and size of the bead seems about to have the same proportions as the original bead. So we've learned a lot today. I definitely recommend, obviously the scientific method, but looking at something, putting yourself together a list of tools, a list of techniques, and a list of needed materials, setting those up, and then laying it out, and then going back to your work and saying what did and didn't work, so that as you're reproducing, and this applies to anything, any material item you're producing or trying to reproduce, I think that would apply there. I've got about 5 more minutes. What questions do we have? Any other beads that you wanted to look at? Any other ideas? And now you're all quiet.
I think I speak for just about everybody here when I say this is a fabulous demonstration. I think everybody
Thank you.
Definitely got a little bit out of it today. I know I did. Thank you so much. If you would like to hang out in this chat, that's fine. If people want to do other things, that's fine too. I am going to stop recording.